Hell, hey everybody. A sad evening if you're a Warriors fan. Obviously, it's a happy evening if you're a Memphis Grizzlies fan. And I'm kind of I have a mix of emotions in a complicated night. First of
And
all,
I'm kind of, I have a mix of emotions in a complicated night.
and that's the best way to put it, because first of all, wanted to see the Warriors win. They didn't win. Wanted to see the return of the Dub Nation, the Splash Brothers. I think Steve Kerr has lost it. Okay. I think Steve Kerr has went into this developmental funk. Now, perhaps Jordan Poole will be the difference, okay? But I think here's the thing. Here's the thing, okay? But here's the thing. Here's the thing. I think Jordan Poole is definitely a star. But my point is, it's almost the exception that's starting to prove the rule. And the rule basically is that Steve Kerr inherited the Warriors team that he then turned into champions. But once that team aged, no other stars behind him. No other stars behind him. Okay. And that's it's a sad indictment against him. All right. But that's what it looks like to me. It looks like to me Steve Kerr hasn't really not take the really out of my sentence. Steve Kerr has not um, Steve Kerr has not developed a series of replacement stars. And the overarching question is why? How did we get there? Right? How did we get there? How do we get to this point where how do we get to this point where Steve Kerr seems to be stuck? Because it was clear even before the pandemic that the Warriors had sort of lost their magic. And I thought part of it was the move to San Francisco, because I remain of the idea that the Warriors moving from Oakland to San Francisco for a new arena was a big mistake. They had great, comfortable digs. Hey, Eric, hold on a second. I'm going to let you in. I just want to make this point. They had great, comfortable digs in Oakland, and the problems with the arena were fixable. And there is that overarching issue regarding sea level, which had to be dealt with one way or the other. It still does, okay? In other words, in 19 years, it's forecast there'll be an additional 72 inches of water throughout that area, not just the Coliseum, but the Oakland Airport Business Park, I-880, all the way down in the Oakland Airport, and in the other way, past the BART tracks that kind of divide the neighborhood and into East Oakland. That whole gigantic area is forecast to have additional water, 72 inches of it in 19 years, about a generation. There is no financed plan to fix that. And it's, to me, the hallmark example of how Oakland does not have the will and the initiative to complete big projects, and I want to be wrong. But I digress. That's not why the Warriors moved at all. Okay? The Warriors moved for other reasons. Among them, they felt they couldn't get anything done in Oakland, but they moved. And the time that they moved to the new arena, which was the house that Steph built, reflected the fact that they become a wealthy, successful organization. But now, having moved to San Francisco, yeah, the pandemic has impacted the Warriors like everyone else in every other organization. But what got them to the finals again and again and again, that dramatic three-oriented offense is gone. And so they've lost their edge. Let's bring in Eric. Eric, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, Zinni?
I have a lot of opinions, so do you. Why do you think the Warriors lost, and do you think Steve Kerr has lost his edge?
Well, I would even go back to even when they won 73 games, this has always been a Warriors problem. Even when they won the championships, this has always been the Warriors problem. And it's that word, turnovers. When the Warriors lose, they're careless with the ball, especially Steph sometimes. And they turn the ball over. And go to your Steve Kerr. I don't think he has, because I remember a lot of people were saying how much of a bust Andrew Wiggins was. But now actually Andrew Wiggins has developed into a third scorer for them. And actually now people are saying, oh, they should just keep Andrew Wiggins. Now when Clay comes back, they're going to be a contender again. So I put a lot of credit on Steve Kerr for that, for allowing Wiggins to go through those bumps in the beginning to gel with Steph. And so I don't think he lost his edge, but I think because of the pandemic, like everybody else, and the Warriors tonight just look tired. I mean, they look like a team that did play 4 games in 4 nights. I mean, and if they had a lot more rest, would they have turned the ball over a lot like that? Probably not. But I mean, and it is what it is. But I mean, they still could have won this game tonight. It just they couldn't get any stops in the fourth quarter, and even in overtime. And I mean, they never really had control of this game, except for maybe a minute or whatever. But they couldn't get any stops. Those were the 2 killers for the Warriors tonight. Was they couldn't get any key stops, and their turnovers. That's always been their Achilles heel. Is when the Warriors lose, they lose because they turn the ball over too much. And I remember Warriors basketball. It was designed with ball movement. Like their offense was, you pass the ball around. That's why KD was able to adjust when he was there, because their offensive game is just a lot of ball movement. And I think that's what they need to get back to once Clay gets back. But see, there's a lot of new pieces that they're trying to implement. Wiseman, he's still a rookie, 19 years old, and they never really had a big man outside of Bogut. So it's kind of like they're trying to get the rookie involved, but I think they need to go back to that real Warriors basketball where it was ball movement, small ball, and it worked, and that's why they went to the finals all those times with that, and Steve Kerr put that in. So I don't think he lost his edge. I just think he lost some players and not enough bodies. And you can't just depend on, even though Steph is amazing, at some point Steph looked tired tonight. I think he looked tired in overtime. I think Steph, he tried, but they could have won it, but he just looked tired. And I think that's the reason why they lost, is the turnovers. And I think they just ran out of gas in the end.
I think he's lost his edge, and here's why I I make that connection because basically the Warriors stars that we're accustomed to, rooting for, like Steph Curry, for example. Okay.
Mhm.
Those guys came in. Here's Klay Thompson, 2011.
Mhm.
I believe 2011, 2012. Andre Iguodala, who's not pictured, came to the Warriors in 2013. And
Right.
Draymond came to the Warriors in, I believe, 2011 as well. They all the names, all the stars that I named to you predate Steve Kerr.
Right.
Steve Kerr came in, he was fired. Mark Jackson was. I raised holy hell because I felt that it was something that should not have been done. I thought it was racist. And I wasn't the only one, but I don't care if, to stand there and be the only one that says that.
Right.
I have gotten over it to a degree, but I and then all of a sudden, an occurrence happened that, look, I want to meet the one person that actually forecast what happened Steve Kerr's first year.
Right.
I want to meet that guy or gal, okay? I mean, really, because I want to meet that guy or gal, all right? And
Right.
I haven't. No one saw at all. No one saw Steve Kerr coming.
Right.
I mean,
Nobody did know.
and what I mean by that is when I mean by no one saw Steve Kerr coming, the Warriors rattled off something like, I mean, an ungodly, excuse me, 17 straight. Remember that?
Yep.
17 straight, 17 straight wins.
Right.
And they did so because of a unique style of play. You would call it running around. I think they have another name for it, but I call it
ball movement. Ball movement. That's what I call it.
Harlem Globetrotters because the passing was fancy,
Yes.
quasi trick. It was entertaining, and they were putting up huge scoring margins, and it was quite obvious they were practicing threes. Okay.
Exactly.
Then the more successful they became with that, by the third year, other teams were copying it, and the Warriors were losing their edge because they didn't have the unique flavor.
I think Cleveland started it when they came back from 3-1 down to they figured it out how to beat them.
Yeah, but my point is that Steve Kerr has as his quasi bosses the Laker kids and to analytics. Because we talk about analytics. I'm talking about we, like myself and the Kerr kids. I mean the Laker kids,
Right.
because I do system dynamics, and I had some ideas for them. Aside from that, my point is they didn't have an answer for what teams were doing to say, here's how we modify what we're doing and maintain our edge. They actually went over time to a more conventional approach. At the same, and it's as if they were looking at it and saying, hey, we can win now if we bring in better players than what we had, and we can, gamble a bit and play a more conventional style of basketball. And they lost their edge.
Right.
And that entire process has caused me to say, all right, how much longer can Kerr hold on to this job because he set a high bar for himself.
Yes.
And so have the Warriors as in terms of their management approach.
Definitely.
They set a high bar, and the question is, is the high bar, the structure of their rise to fame, by its very creation, by its very makeup, such that the only way the Warriors can achieve success is to find another approach that is innovative.
Yes, I agree.
That's what I'm getting at.
And I think they will. I don't know if it
Why
buys
will
them up.
why?
And
Why? I mean, my point is
simply because Clay's coming back. I mean, I think once he is back and they're full strength, along with Wiggins and maybe their draft picks that they might get, and Wiseman coming back as well. I think they will. I mean, playing without missing Clay is a big piece.
well, my question though is this, okay? When Steph Kerr came in, he took what he had and he formed a style around it. That's innovative. Innovation does not come in with bringing a new player. It comes in with what you do with your existing players and the plays you design.
True, that is true.
Okay? It's the plays you design. And my point is, I haven't seen them create anything. I don't know, like what, 3-quarters basketball? I remember going to a basketball game years ago, NCAA Elite Eight, and DePaul was in it, and it was at the Horizon in suburban Chicago in Rosemont, Illinois, and they played a 3-quarters offense and shocked their opponent, the name of which I forgot, but it just shocked them, and they won.
Right.
And I had never seen 3-quarters offense. I didn't know that sort of thing existed, okay? But my point is, I don't see the Warriors experimenting like that. I see them looking like everybody else, which hurts also with ticket sales. And then there's that move to Oakland. Move from Oakland to San Francisco. Sure, they wore the Oakland jersey, but they lacked the Oakland magic. So you lack the Oakland magic. They're not innovating. What's the future going to be? You say that it's just a matter of adding Klay Thompson, right? Go with that.
Mm-hmm. I get what you're saying about being innovated. I think when I watched Warriors games this year, oh, hold on, I gotta leave and come back because it's froze.
Oh, okay. We'll be here when you come back. Anyway, I disagree with him. I really disagree because I believe that innovation is the key to success. That's true in tech. That's true in fashion. That's true in every aspect of life. Innovation, trying something in a novel new way that turns out to be effective, is that thing that differentiates the successful from the unsuccessful. You can think about every example of life that there is, and that's the case, okay? So my point is, Eric is seemingly in love with the idea that Klay will return and all will be fine. I'm just not there yet.
Right.
I'm looking at Steph playing his heart out. He's older.
Yeah, he is.
He's older. Yeah. I'm older. You're older. We get older.
Yep.
I mean, you get to a certain point, and sometimes the stuff it starts to run out. You can't help.
I get what you're saying about him. I think Kerr's issue was
you can take beet juice. All right. You can take 7-Up and lemonade. It can give you a kickstart. You can take vitamin B, C, D, E.
Exactly. You're still gonna get old, right? But no, I think Kerr. Exactly. I think Kerr this year, especially when Wiseman was there, he was trying to find the lineups to work, and he was just like, okay, does this work? Does this work? So I think he spent most of the year trying to figure out who's going to be in the starting lineup, who's better in the second unit. And I think really he was actually preparing for next year, really, the way I watched him coach this year, because it was just like when Mike Wiseman was there, he was just experimenting with Wiseman and Draymond, or it would be Wiseman and somebody else, and he kept switching.
So what you're telling me is he was coaching like a guy who wasn't worried about losing his job because he wasn't winning. In other words, when you sit back and experiment like that, you just basically tell me that he's taking Warrior fans' money. It's like, you know what? I know I'm gonna be here.
I don't think it's that. I think he just.
I'm being half.
I know I made it sound like that, but I think he was just dealing with the cards that were dealt with him, and I think Lakeup and them know that, know their roster, know their lineup, and I think he was just trying to find what have worked to get him to this point. So I don't think he thinks his job is safe because obviously Lakeup and them could fire him. I mean, they have that choice. So I mean, we'll see next year with the draft if he could get more innovative, like you said. But I think that's what he was doing. To me, that's what it looked like he was doing when I was watching Warriors game. He was just every lineup was different throughout the season. You never really saw the same starting five until the second half when the season was almost over. And so I don't think he was thinking that he was safe. I think that he just thought that was the cards that he was dealt. And I think Lakem and them know that. So I don't know if that gives him time. I have no idea. But maybe Lakem and them will fire him like he did. So who knows? But I think he might have.
I think the Warriors fired Mark Jackson for a different set of reasons, and I think it had to do with just culturally. I don't think the two groups of people really got each other, and
right. I agree.
Then
because he deserves to be in the NBA right now, coaching. Mark Jackson does. Yeah. He definitely was a good coach.
Yeah,
and he deserves to be on a team. I was out when the Suns. Matter of fact, when the Suns didn't get Monty Williams, I was screaming, "Get Mark Jackson from out of TV and put him on the Suns." I was screaming that. I was like, but Monty has done such a good job, So it's like, but I wanted Mark Jackson as the Suns coach. Believe it or not, I was like, no, I want Mark Jackson, but Monty's doing a good job. He's got a tough task this Sunday, but I seen your other video about the referees calls. See, that's what the Suns are going to have to deal with when we go to LA as the refs. Oh my gosh, the refs won that game for the Lakers. I'm gonna tell you that. Won that game for the Lakers. I'm gonna tell you that because even us fans, here's what annoys me, Zenny. In every sport, MLB, NBA, baseball. I mean, you guys are professionals. We are fans watching it on TV. If you can't tell me what a flop is when we're normal fans could look at somebody and say that's a flop and you're getting paid more money than we, why can't you call it fair? All we want is consistency. If you're going to be calling that, call it for the other team both ways so it's fair. Call it on my team, but then call it on somebody else. That's all we ask.
All right, this is what I said 7 years ago when the Golden State Warriors fired Mark Jackson. This is exactly what I said.
The Golden State Warriors under owners Joe Lacob and Peter Guber have made yet another stupid move firing Mark Jackson, who's had 2 winning seasons and a 51-win season this year, 2013-2014 alone. Why? Maybe who knows? But here's a bet. The Warriors will hire a white coach and then allow that white coach to perform less well than Mark Jackson did. Maybe because he's
that's what it looked like. It definitely looked like that.
Hire Mark Jackson as their coach. He gave us many great memories and great seasons in just his 2 years as a coach. Incredible. And again, for the Warriors firing him, incredibly stupid. But we come to expect that from Warriors management and owners, of course.
See, that's what I said then. But then, who saw? I didn't see Steve Kerr coming. Okay,
right. And nobody did. I don't think.
No, nobody did. And I'm trying to remember because I know I didn't see Steve Kerr coming. I'm trying to remember what I wrote. Let's see here about that in that context. But But for me, it was that shocking because I think they were golfing buddies or something like that. Is that how he got the job or something
I
like that?
think so. I have no idea.
Yeah, and Steve Kerr's a friend of my good friend Mike Silver, who's
Well, he was the GM for my Phoenix Suns at one point, and actually brought Shaq to Phoenix. You know, the only GM that ever called Shaq, according to Shaq, tell him that he was traded. So, according to Shaq, Steve Kerr is the only GM that ever called him, let him know that he was going to go on a team. So, yeah.
yeah. And then this is what I said. This is what I said a little later regarding Steve Kerr. I was still heated and pissed. This was May 15th, 2014, right here. Warriors, Joe Lacob hired Steve Kerr over golf, if you can see that headline right here.
I
Okay, folks, here's a follow-up vlog, a late-night vlog, because I discovered that Joe Lacob said he met Steve Kerr over golf. For those of you who are saying that the hire of Mark Jackson is exactly or was exactly the same as the hiring of Steve Kerr, you're totally wrong. Joe Lacob hired Mark Jackson in 2011 after viewing him. Then San Antonio Spurs assistant Mike Malone, who was highly regarded by the Lakers and was going to go in that direction, was Mike Budenholzer, another assistant from San Antonio. And it was said that Joe Lacob only wanted Mark Jackson if he could get Mike Malone, who's white. And that's exactly what happened. Otherwise, the idea goes that Lacob actually sort of was cool to the idea of bringing in Mark Jackson. So here we have Jackson, and Lacob said then, get this, that Steph Curry was behind the move. What did he say this time when Steve Kerr was hired? Oh, Steph Curry's behind this too. I think at some point Steph Curry is going to get tired of having words put in his mouth. That's exactly how Lacob operates, it seems. But even more disturbing is that the Warriors organization, that 200 employee staff that Lacob referred to, that he since it seems to imply had an issue with Mark Jackson. In the top executive positions, only 3% are African American. That's right, 3%. That goes 25 pokes deep. If you went through the entire roster of 200 employees, you'd be hard pressed to come up with a percentage of African Americans that comes anywhere near the percentage of African Americans that play basketball for the NBA. It's horrible. So you've got a staff of people that is mostly white and doesn't follow the actions of the Warriors, seem to be friendly to having African Americans work within it. And then it jettisons its black coach, even though that coach has given them 2 consecutive appearances in the NBA playoffs. There is something horribly wrong. And some of you out there take the actions of an organization, and just because it's done, you rubber stamp it rather than having enough.
Yeah. Now I said that, and I said that, and 5 years ago, 5 years ago, the Warriors set a 73-game NBA record.
Oh, and this one again is for Thomas Mitchell, who was kind enough to ask me that question in a very mannerable way. You know, he didn't flame me or anything. He reminded me that I said that Steve Kerr didn't. He reminded me of my comments about Steve Kerr in the past. He didn't go into specific what he meant. What I love, Mitchell, is that you were respectful. You know, you didn't flame me or call me names or anything like that. Awesome. And that's why I'm making this vlog. And I want to make this part 2 to add this. My mother at 81 is the wisest person I know. And when I was railing about how Mark Jackson was fired, my mother said, he needed to be fired. He got in the playoffs.
Your mom is smart, Cindy. Your mom sees things. Half glass full.
Said so before he was fired. So when Lacob pulled the trigger, she was happy.
I like your mom's opinions when she says it, though.
Took the black guy out or anything like that. My mom was like, he needed to go.
If you can't win a championship, you need to go. Well, there you go. I gave it to your mom.
Commenter chimed in. I don't remember the person's name and said, "Your mom's really smart," or "Your mom's right." But what the commenter said was, "Your mom's right. You need to listen to your mom."
I agree with your mom on that one.
I have to explain what I go through in society in general. And you have to remember, I'm 53 now. And everyone knows that I'm Zenny 62. That's the year I was born. I don't shy away from that at all. I love who I am. I'm not trying to be someone I'm not. I am me.
Hey, I'm 30 years old. I don't say I'm my age. I'm still 30 in my mind.
I've always taken a subordinate role to someone who's white. In micro ways.
We're 21, Zinny. 21.
I remember, for example, this was 1972. And bear with me. I know I'll get back to
the point that I was making, though,
you'll understand what I'm saying.
I made the point, but what I have to say this about that, okay?
Right.
And it's basically this, because it is straight up true what I'm about to say. Look, when someone comes out of the gate and does what Steve Kerr did, I mean, what can you say?
Right.
I will repeat what I said at the outset of the show. No one saw Steve Kerr coming.
No, not even I did. And
not even Steve Kerr saw Steve Kerr coming. Okay.
Exactly. I think the reason why I agree with your mom is that even though I like Mark, he could never have. He got him to the playoffs, but I think Lacob and them wanted to get to. I mean, it's about winning the championship. So I think that had more to do with it than Mark. But maybe, who knows? We don't know really behind the scenes what went wrong on with those two, with Mark and ownership. So we don't know if he was pushy or what. But I think, to me, I think it. You know,
I have a guess. I think, knowing how much the Lacobs are into analytics, I think Mark Jackson wasn't feeling the analytics thing.
I agree, and that's what they did. That's what they bumped heads about. Yeah,
it's just, and so they got someone, Steve Kerr, who believed in analytics. I believe in analytics.
And he came from, like you said, the Spurs tree. Kerr did, or whatever. He knows what this. When you watch the Warriors, it actually was a lot like the Spurs. So their style of play back in the day is what Steve Kerr brought to the Warriors, like you said. And has he lost that part? When I look at it now, kind of a little, but I think if he knows who's his starting five going to be next year, and try to fix what they need to fix, that's why I say they're going to be fine. If he could innovate that again, where he knows what his lineup is going to be every night consistently, instead of like this year, he didn't know which lineup worked. He didn't know who could play with Steph and all that stuff. So I think that next year we will see if he really has lost his edge or he hasn't. So next year we will know too. So
also the virus played a big role in all that.
Yeah, for everybody. Yep.
Unquestionably. But I think the Warriors also have this kind of I guess you'd call it managerial arrogance. I guess I lost Paul or something. I'll get him back. But managerial arrogance that they brought to the table. There's two types of arrogance, folks. There's justified arrogance, which says, hey, look, I got this. I know the problems, but I got this. And there's the unjustified arrogance, which is, I'm good and better than you just because I think I'm good and better than you. And that's that, okay? And so the latter arrogance comes about just because you think you're better. The former arrogance comes about because you're confident that you can do the job well. There's two types. Mm-hmm. I feel like the Warriors had the latter type of arrogance, okay? Now, having said all that, I'll say this. There's nothing wrong in my book with being arrogant.
Right.
I love it. I love people who believe in their talents. I love people who believe what they can do. I love people who say that they can do something and then they do it. I'm like Don Meredith, the late Dallas Cowboys quarterback, who later became the Monday Night Football announcer, who said, "And ain't bragging if he can do it." Boom.
Right. I mean, if you could back it up, hey, I like that too. I like that
Yeah,
too.
that's it. Well, getting back to the Warriors, which I haven't got off of, but I think the Warriors need to get out of the former arrogance and they need to get back to the latter arrogance, which is the study and the analytics and coming
Right.
up with a system and a new approach. Because that approach where they're running around too much, I think the reason why as I think of play this out in my mind, I think the reason why they have abandoned it is they were tiring their older players out.
They were, yep. And I think they realized that they're not as dominant now as they were in that 5 year stretch. Teams will remember that, and like Draymond even said it. They were the hunter, now they become the hunted, and now they're the hunter again. And I agree with Draymond. That's what they are now. So
I hope that. Yeah, definitely. Hey, let's pick this up tomorrow. I'm gonna.
okay. Oh, by the way, Zidane, we gotta do a blog about how disrespected my Suns are being because everybody right now got the Lakers, and nobody, even Vegas, got the Lakers to win in a landslide. Okay, and I'm not saying they won't win, but I'm saying how disrespected my Suns are getting right now. For some people in the media, even saying it's going to be a sweep. So I just want to put that out there. There you go.
You got it. I might even have you do that solo. Anyway, stick around. Eric, hey, folks, if you haven't done so before, subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com, and that ends this program.